You sent me and placed me in a hole, sold me into Egypt. I went from the pit unto the palace, simply because God preserves a remnant. COGIC, there are notes for this lesson. I'll leave a link in the description below and the comment. I'll leave a link above my head. Click that link. Get your sanctified Bibles and your notes, for the Church of God in Christ Sunday School is now in session. Join me. Let's go.
Teaching the Word of God in the spirit of excellence. Join Elder Rodney Jones with our Sunday school lesson. Building and equipping the children of God. Grab your Bibles and grab your notes. Get your lessons and get ready. Now let's go.
Welcome to Sunday School, the COGIC Legacy Edition. I am your host, Pastor Dr. Rodney Jones of the New Nation Anointed Ministries, Church of God in Christ. We're located 1700 West 87th Street in the city of Chicago. Our zip is 60620. If this is your first time, please leave me a comment in the section below that this is your first time. If you have private questions or concerns or prayers, drop me an email. You see the link below. And lastly, make sure that you click the thumbs up, the like, and the subscribe. Make sure you click the bell notification and all, so YouTube will notify you. Bing! He just uploaded another COGIC edition with notes. We got a good one here. I'm going to be brief on this lesson. There is an original lesson that is on YouTube dated September the 27th, 2020. The subject matter is God's plan revealed. That's when we taught this lesson in September 27th. That goes over Genesis, the 45th chapter, verses 1 through 15. I've decided to use the same notes. As a matter of fact, this lesson begins at the 3rd verse. I kept all 15 verses in my set of notes. I'm going to also do something that I don't normally do. I think I'm going to read this lesson. I'm still going to be brief about it. My schedule is very hectic. Y'all continue to pray my strength in the Lord. I honor everybody that's out there. We got a good one. We're dealing with God preserves a remnant. He preserves a remnant. In this lesson, we're going to see the attitude, the real bona fide attitude of Joseph. I need somebody to know that Joseph forgave his brothers, although they placed him in a hole and gave him no food, nothing to drink. But they sat around the hole and ate and drank, although they took him out the hole and sold him into slavery or sold him to the merchants that were on their way. I need you to know that all of it lined up because it was the purpose of God. Now, everything that takes place doesn't mean God initiated it, but in many cases, it's part of God's plan. What I mean by that, God understands and knows what's going to happen, and he can use your circumstance as part of his plan. No, God does not cause everything to happen to us, because there are some things that takes place in our life that are traumatic and God is not doing it, but he will take that thing that you are traumatic in or about, and he knows, as my dad says, he knows how to catapult us to the proper direction, because it's going to line up according to his will. Lastly, thank you all for watching the video with my bishop and I, Bishop Roland T. Sanders. So far it's up to 1,200 views on YouTube alone. There is a part 2 to this. We will come back this coming Tuesday, and then the last one will be the following week. That will be 7 o'clock this coming Tuesday. Watch the live and get ready. So I'm going to do something I don't normally do. It's been a while since I've done this. I'm going to read the lesson. I am going to read the lesson, and I am, yes, had to make sure that I was recording and it was live. Let's begin to read. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried, "Cause every man to go out from me." And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live? And his father or his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said unto his brethren, Come near to me, I pray you. And they came near. And he said, I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves, that you sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years in which there shall be neither earing nor harvest. Verse 7, and God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. And he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and Lord of all of his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Haste ye, and go up to my father, and say unto him, Thus saith thy son Joseph, God hath made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down unto me, tarry not. And thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen, and thou shalt be near unto me, thou and thy children, and thy children's children, and thy flocks, and thy herds, and all that thou hast. And there will I nourish thee. For yet there are 5 years of famine, lest thou and thy household and all that thou hast come to poverty. And behold, your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that it is my mouth that speaketh unto you. And ye shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and all that ye have seen, and ye shall haste and bring down my father hither. And he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck. Moreover, he kissed all his brethren and wept upon them. And after that, his brethren talked with him. This is the entire reading of our lesson. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading of his word for the edification of our souls, and the people of God said amen. Let's get down to it. Joseph is now reunited with his brethren. This is not the first time. Some things took place that I won't really get into at this point of the lesson, because now I'm going to start discussing the lesson. Ding, ding, ding. Sunday school is now in session. Verse number 3. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Now you're going to see that he's going to say it to them more than once, because they possibly are not going to believe him. Because remember, Joseph is talking to them, but he's talking to them through an interpreter. We're going to see that most likely also Joseph is wearing particular garments that they won't recognize him anyhow. And because of who he is and what he is doing, he doesn't look like them no more. And remember, he was 17 when they placed him in a hole. He began to be 30 when he stood before the king. Now he's even older than that. First question on the floor, doth my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer them, for they were, look at what happened with them. They were troubled. They were troubled at his presence. They were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said unto his brethren, come near to me, I pray you. And they came near, and he said, once again, I am Joseph, your brother, whom ye sold. I'm Joseph, your brother, whom ye serve. So Joseph and his brothers are at separate tables. That's the chapter 44 and 32, because it was an abomination for the Hebrews to eat with the Egyptians, and therefore he calls for them to come nearer. The room has now been emptied of everybody except his brothers. Joseph no longer speaks to them by an interpreter. Joseph does not treat them roughly like he did before, which it was a test. Joseph was not trying to get back at his brethren. You have to understand the character of the person that we're dealing with. Let me say this to teachers. You cannot teach scripture based on our culture, based on the lens of our emotions. One must teach scripture based on the culture that it is written in and based on the lens of the character that the Bible portrays. So since it doesn't portray Joseph as a person that will seek revenge or as a person that will allow stuff to get to his head, we don't see Joseph trying to seek revenge from his brothers. Oh my, I love this Joseph character. We're going to look into some more stuff. So point number 4, Joseph does not treat them roughly like he did before. Number 5, he now reveals his true identity to them by saying, I am Joseph. Now, the second time he put more emphasis to it. So the brothers never told the Egyptians the name of their other brother. For Joseph to tell or to yell out his name, excuse me, is surprising to them. To say the name Joseph would probably take them back some 20 some years from when they put him in the pit. Because the last time they saw a brother called Joseph, they was pulling him out the pit to sell him. His first question is, does my father yet live? And since his brother Benjamin is already there, he don't have to question, does my brother Benjamin live? So Joseph's desire was his father Jacob and his brother Benjamin. Benjamin is with them because Joseph told them to bring him to prove that they are not spies. Point number 10 or sentite, whatever it is. I can't remember what 7 is in Spanish. Maybe somebody can write it down there. C, the number C letter. The brothers could not answer him because they were, the Bible said, troubled at his presence. And the word trouble means, it is a verb meaning to be dismayed or terrified. They were speechless at what they saw. They were in shock at what they saw and were terrified. They saw something that they hadn't seen in possibly 20 or more years. Last time they saw his face, he was begging for his life. Oh my. As they were pulling him out the pit, that was the last time they saw his face as he was being taken away to his land of destiny. I'm going to leave that one alone. Point number 8, they were terrified at his presence and they didn't know what to do because most likely they couldn't recognize him. He is older, and being the younger children grow up and they grow into their facial expression or structure or whatever. Number 2, they possibly couldn't recognize him because of the outfit. Number 3, because he spoke to them through an interpreter. And number 4, they were surprised at the very fact that he was alive. And so no wonder, because they probably thought that he was dead, because in a few lessons that we had way back, even a couple of years ago, they said that his blood be upon them. So they thought that he was dead because they wanted to kill him, but Reuben begged them not to. Chapter 42 and 22. They wanted to kill him to see what would happen to his dreams. Genesis 37 and 20. Come on now. Reuben was going to take him back to his father again, but they done some things and they kind of hoodwinked and tricked Reuben. So they sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver, Genesis 37 and 20. He asked them nicely to come closer to him from sitting in a separate area of the room. He repeats his name the second time, and this time he informs them, I'm your brother. He says to his brothers that you sold me in Egypt. A, this is probably to prove he knows what he's talking about. B, his brothers sold him, remember, to the Midianites. Sometimes it says Ishmaelites, and they sold him into Egypt, Genesis 37 and 28. The Midianites sold Joseph into Egypt, Genesis 37 and 36. So there can possibly be some information that scripture does not reveal to us concerning certain things that we're not quite clear of. But one thing he says is, you guys sold me. And it's what we call a pivoting point. Had you not placed me in the hole and sold me to this crew that was on their way to Egypt, I never would have gotten sold into Egypt. So technically, it was you that sold me into Egypt. Number 5, and I said I wasn't going to be on this long. I need to keep my word. Now, therefore, be not grieved nor angry with yourselves that you sold me hither, for God did send me. Powerful. Look at what he said. Now, that's a loving brother that can recognize. He says, God is the one that sent me. God sent me before you to do what? To preserve. Right there. To preserve life. And really, it's to preserve your life. So don't be angry. Don't be grieved with yourselves that you sold me. You possibly sold me out of anger or whatever. You may not have understood really what was really going on. He says, so after Joseph revealed to his brothers his true identity, he continues his speech while the brothers are still speechless as to the presence of Joseph. After he calls them to come closer, he continues to explain to the brothers their actions. But their actions is based on the sovereignty of God. God is sovereign, and everything moves by his power, by his plan, by his will. You are breathing at the sovereignty of God. Your heart is pumping because of the sovereignty of God. Everything moves, the Bible said, by the power of God. And I know you took all the credit for blessing people, but you didn't understand that every good and perfect gift comes from God. You simply did it because it was the sovereign plan of God for you to do it. So he reveals himself. He tells them point number 2 is don't be grieved. And the word grieve is a verb meaning hurt or pain. So Joseph should have been the one that is grieving over what his brothers did to him. Yet he's the one that said, don't be grievous. Now, wait a minute. You sold me into slavery. You put me in a hole. You lied to my daddy. You ripped my garment off of me. You told daddy that I was dead. And you broke my daddy's spirit and his heart because you hated me because of jealousy. And because of you, I get thrown into Potiphar's house. I became his servant, and his wife launched an all APB attack on me. Lord have mercy. And then I ran and she got my garment. I end up in prison where the king puts his people in prison. And then there I interpreted dreams. And from there I get taken out of prison into the palace. But I'm going to tell you, brothers, don't you be grievous. Don't y'all cry. Now, I should be crying, but I'm consoling you. Don't cry. He's the one consoling his brothers about what they did unto him. Joseph at this point is showing his forgiveness and his love for his brothers. Point number 3. He also states not to be angry with yourselves. And the word angry is a verb meaning to burn, to be kindled, to glow, or to grow warm. He never tells his brother that they were not guilty. That's true. He never shows signs of being angry with them as well. That is also true. He also assures them that God used their anger to promote his program. And then D, which is a grade I had in high school, he does not tell them that they were right to do it either. Just because that doesn't mean that you were right to do it. Point number 4, he says, don't be angry at the fact that you sold me in this place. Joseph chose to forgive his brothers who sinned against him. They already thought that the roughness that they applied on them was because of the fact that they put him in the pit, and that's Genesis 42 and 21. He says, God sent me to preserve life. The life he would preserve would be the life of his father, the life of his siblings, his brothers, and the life of their children. The life that he was sent to preserve is the life of the entire nation of the children of Israel. I need somebody to know that God promised Abraham that his seed would be strangers in the land and would be entreated of them some 400 years. Well, God is still keeping his word and his promise, because Israel is in the land, and the rest, I should say, are about to come into this land. Then they're going to be there for 400 years. So we see the plan of God already taking place. Verses 5 and 6 says what? For these 2 years have the famine. Let me go back. For these 2 years have the famine been in the land, and there are 5 years in which there shall be neither earing nor harvest. And God sent me before you. Notice what he says again. This is the second time that he says God. See, he understands something. He understands that God is the one that sent me before you to preserve. There's that word again, to preserve you a posterity. To preserve you a posterity. He understands that in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. And to save your lives by a great deliverance. So far, the interpretation of Pharaoh's dream has come true that he interpreted. The first 7 years of plenteous has come and gone. That's Genesis 41 and 53. Number 3, Joseph has already taken advantage of the 7 good years and he stored up. Genesis 41 and 48. Number 4, they are now into 2 years of the 7 years of the famine, which is this particular lesson. Number 5, he informs them that there are still 5 years of this famine to go. And then number 6, this famine will be so bad until they won't remember the 7 good years. Genesis 41 and 30. Point number 7 is this famine will be so bad until there will be neither earing nor harvest. And the word earing is a masculine noun meaning plowing time or plow. It refers to the tillage of the soil with a plow. You can find that reference in 1 Samuel 8 and 12. In other words, there will not be a time of plowing during these 7 years of famine. The land will not have any seed to plow. The ground or the soil will be too damaged for them to plow. The land will be too dry to produce crop, and there will be no moisture. There will be no time of removing the ears of grain. And he mentions the word harvest, which means a reaping. And since there can be no plowing, no settling in, there can be, and no sowing, there can be no reaping. And this may be a time that they had never seen before. That's Genesis 41 and 19. Now he says, God sent me before you to preserve a posterity in the earth. And the word posterity is a feminine noun meaning a remnant. And that's where our subject matter comes into play. Posterity is a residue. It is the remainder. So many will die during this famine, but because of Joseph, his brothers will live. Joseph will preserve a remnant or a posterity of lives for the family of Jacob. Very interesting. Point number 9, he says, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. Because Joseph is here, all of Jacob's family is going to be saved. Over 400 years later, when Israel leaves Egypt, Joseph would still be responsible for them being there and being able to leave. Point number C is God made promise to Abraham that they would leave this country so that they would come out with great substance. That's Genesis 15, verses 13 and verses 14. Let's continue to read. Look at what we got. So now it was not you that sent me. Once again, he keeps repeating it, but God. This, I believe, is about the third time. And he hath made me a father to Pharaoh and Lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout the land of Egypt. Haste ye and go up to my father and say unto him, Thus saith thy son Joseph, God hath made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down unto me, and tarry not. So first Joseph says, don't be angry that you sold me, in verses 5. Number 2, now he tells them it was not them that sold him there, but God sent them. You thought you sold me, but God sent me. When you cut me and stabbed and kicked me out, you didn't understand. God was sending me. You pushed me out, put me out, scandalized, burnt me out, and tossed everything I owned out. But God was sending me. He used your avenue to catapult me. He used your avenue to push me, to plunder me, and to cause me to exceed and excel where he wanted me to go. Oh, come on. You became a Judas in my life. So Joseph assures his brothers that they didn't understand the providential love of God. Those are some powerful words. Providential and sovereign, the sovereignty of God. So they thought that they were just selling Joseph unto merchants. But number 5 is God was actually sending Joseph into Egypt to preserve not just the Egyptians, but Jacob and his family as well as many other countries or lands. That's Genesis 41 and 54. Many don't understand that God, through Joseph, he didn't just preserve Israel, but everybody that needed substance came to Egypt and were able to get the substance simply because of one Hebrew slave by the name of Joseph. So Pharaoh and the Egyptians lived, the children of Israel lived, and all of the other nations that came to him were able to get a piece of this pie. Point number 6 is Joseph says God made him father to Pharaoh, and the word made is the primary meaning of the verb is to put or to set or to place. Now the word father here could possibly mean spiritual advisor. Joseph became the spiritual advisor of Pharaoh. Pharaoh apparently didn't make any moves without Joseph. Due to his interpretations of his dreams, he made Joseph Lord of his house. And the word Lord means manager over his house or over of the things or even the palace that concerns Pharaoh. He made him the manager, the overseer of everything. Then he says he made me ruler through all the land of Egypt. And the word ruler means a governor. So not only is he Lord over or manager, but he is also a governor throughout all the land. And he tells them to run and go tell his father that God hath made me Lord of all Egypt. Now, this word Lord here is different than the first word Lord. Here it means master. The first one, Lord, it means manager. Here it means master. Tell my father to hurry up and do not tarry. I want to see my daddy. Verse 10, and thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen, and thou shalt be near unto me, thou and thy children, and thy children's children, and thy flock, and thy herds, and all that thou hast. And there will I nourish. Look at what he said that he's getting ready to do. He says, I am going to nourish thee. That's important. This is Joseph talking. This is Joseph talking, and Joseph says, I am going to nourish thee. For yet there are 5 years of famine, lest thou and thy household and all that thou hast come to poverty. Now this is very interesting. Joseph now sets the location where his family can stay. It does not say if Joseph asked Pharaoh or not. It doesn't mention that. Since everything is in his hands, apparently he can send his family where he wants because Pharaoh is not going to speak against it. He will send his father to the best area of Egypt. They will stay there until they leave. They're going to be there for 400 years or 430 years. And Joseph wants them to be near so he can nourish them. If they do not obey him, his family will come into poverty and die. That shows us the love that this brother has. He's not seeking revenge. Listen, the Bible says, see that none render evil for evil. You cannot seek revenge because somebody done something against you. You cannot grow up with animosity in your heart, in your mind, and in your spirit. Here's a perfect example and a perfect lesson. I know they done you wrong. I know they scandalized you. I know they drug your name. I know they put you out. I know they defamed your character. I understand. I see it. God understands and he sees it. But sometimes God will use, in many cases, he will use that to take you to where you got to go. Here, Joseph doesn't show any signs of anger. He doesn't show any signs that he's going to get back. But he tells them, get the rest of your families because I want to put you in the best place so that I can nourish you and make sure that you are fed. And then he tells them how much time is left per the famine. That sounds like a loving brother, and that's who Joseph is. Let me get back on this here. Yeah, verses 11. Verses 12 says, and behold, your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that it is my mouth that speaketh unto you. In other words, I'm not talking to you by an interpreter. I'm speaking in the Hebrew language, the language we grew up in. And ye shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that ye have seen, and ye shall haste and bring down my father hither. So before Joseph spoke to them through an interpreter, now he speaks to them himself. He says, you can see that I'm talking to you. I'm speaking to you face to face. I have put everybody else out of the room, and I'm talking to you in our language, in our tongue, the way we were taught, the slang and the whole 9 yards. Look at me. Read my lips. No new. Read my lips. I'm speaking to you. You understand, and you know it is me. Go down there and tell my father of my glory that is in Egypt and all that you have seen, and you shall haste and bring my father back to me. His concern is his daddy, because his brother is already there with him. That was his brother by the woman that his dad loved. Verses 14 and 15. And he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept. And Benjamin wept upon his neck. What a reunion. Moreover, watch this. He didn't beat, he didn't cut, he didn't stab, he didn't command their heads to be cut off, but he kissed all his brethren and wept upon them. And after that, his brethren talked with him. Other than that, they were speechless. They remained quiet until he talked, until he finished showing and demonstrating to them who he is. Then the emotions kicked out of them all. He embraced his brother, who I believe is the youngest. They have the same mother. They embrace one another. They kiss one another, and they boo-hoo like brothering babies. Then we see the fact that he kissed his brothers. This is an opportunity for him to kiss Benjamin and tell his brothers, I'm going to have your heads cut off. This is an opportunity for Joseph to seek vengeance. This is an opportunity for him to do an eye for an eye. But he is not that character. And this is the type of character that every believer should be. Every one of us should be loving, should be forgiving, should be caring. I understand we went through some things, but you know what? We can take what happened in the life of Joseph to happen in our life as well. That's it. I'm going to get out of here. I enjoyed this lesson. I tried to make it brief. I think I went over just a little bit. For those of you who want to support this channel, there it is right there. You want to support the work of the ministry. And one day I will show you all, because of your support, the equipment that I have and what I do. I have an outreach ministry. Yes, and I'm constantly giving out to people. Whenever someone is in a struggle, a family or whatever, a ministry has started, someone at the church tell me that they have a vision, I always seed into their ministry. I love that. And this is why I love my bishop, Bishop Roland T. Sanders of the New First Church. He does the same thing. He seeds into the lives and into the ministries of people. I appreciate that in people. So whenever someone seeds into me, I use it for ministry. I put it back into the Sunday school, and I bless, because I give Sister Jones something as well. All right, that's it. I'm getting ready to get out of here. Listen, I'll see you all. First of all, if the creek don't rise, if the Lord delays coming, and if it's his will, and if I don't oversleep, I'll see you all Sunday at 8 a.m. for the COGIC Legacy live session. And then I'll see you all Tuesday for part 2 of this lesson taught by myself and my brother and my friend, Bishop Sanders, on this coming Tuesday at 7 o'clock on all of my channels. That's it. Remember my motto, teaching the word of God in the spirit of excellence, and the model of the Sunday school, a child saved is a soul saved plus a life. Amen.